from an emergency like this has tragically taken a toll.
Japan's northeast coast has been hit by a powerful 7.2 magnitude earthquake.
Massive relief efforts are underway to reach victims of Hurricane Katrina in the U.S.
Floodwaters cover 80% of the Mexican state of Tabasco. Au Vietnam, le typhon Lekima laisse dans ses traces des milliers sans abri.
Typhoon Akira devastated Vietnam, leaving hundreds homeless and a rising death toll.
Disasters are inevitable in our society, and they're increasing in their severity because population demographics have changed. We've moved toward the coast, we've concentrated, the population has increased, and so disasters are inevitable. The only question is, how do we respond to them and how do we mitigate them? How do we cause them to have a lower loss of human life than if we don't respond? The final impact in our world is the loss of life. And when we deal with any humanitarian disaster, we're talking about a huge loss of life. In the Indonesia problem, the loss of life was measured in the tens of thousands. In an earthquake in Pakistan that occurred in October of 2005, Pakistan says they lost 80,000 people. India, in the same earthquake, it's in the same northern area. Many people died. When we talk about a disaster, what we're talking about is loss of human life. Buildings fall down, there are cracks in the earth that appear on a regular basis, but human life, the human factor, is what really defines an international disaster. When you lose an infrastructure that provides good water, food, and sanitation, then you set up a disease cycle that's fairly remarkable. And so reestablishing that is really the effort of the international community. If the buildings are gone, if the people are killed, how do you then restand that up so that people don't suffer the secondary consequences? We understand the primary consequences of anything are going to be the event and what happens. It's the secondary consequences that we really focus on, so that from day 3, from day 4, we have the ability to respond in an intelligent fashion on the medical side to reestablish good water, good food, and good sanitation. It's not just a matter of taking care of casualties. It's a matter of reestablishing a baseline of community service. And that's the challenge. How do we do that in a cost-affordable fashion? How do we do that when we have to go by days, not by weeks or months? It means we must fly. The critical function as we look at how do you develop an international disaster relief effort is timeliness. Timeliness implies that you can get what's needed, where it's needed, in a timely fashion to save lives. Timeliness in our world means airlift. An airlift then that you don't ask for and receive in 3 days or 4 days, but you have the ability to control, you have the ability to direct, and you can launch literally on probability that you'll be needed within 24 hours. As we start to build a perfect solution for natural disasters, you have to remember every natural disaster is different than the one that occurred before. And so the key for us is flexibility. As we look at the airlifters around the world, what we did in the United States Air Force was say we've got to have flexibility on every airlift airplane that we have. And if you'll notice, the C-17 was designed from the conception to be an air-vac platform. And the key to that is that you can reconfigure quickly, and it's built into the system. And so as we talk about airlift, as we talk about the C-17, we have designed that beautifully to be as flexible as humanly possible. It can be a great cargo carrier inbound. It can be a critical care platform outbound. It can be a refugee platform outbound. It can be anything that we ask it to do. And, oh, by the way, if 2/3 of the runway is destroyed and we only have 3,000 feet to land on, that's also fine. That's how we designed the airplane. Once you have the airlift landing, the problem really is just beginning. And at that point, then you have to have something that, again, is airlift friendly, pounds count. The beauty of the MMIC units is that they are so sophisticated that they meet standards of care, so that many of them we can use every single day to provide health care. The MSU-2 is a mobile operating theater. It meets the room turnovers. It meets all the safety mechanics. It has triple redundancy for power. And so you could have that set up and being used every single day. Then fold it up if you need to for an emergency and respond. Now, many of their soft-sided solutions, they are a 7-minute asset that you push a button and 7 minutes later you have a shelter with its own power system, its own heating, ventilation, and air system. Literally, it's that simple. That's what we have with a combination of the C-17 asset, the rotary wing that fits inside the C-17, and then what you're there for, to deliver aid to a system that needs it. In this case, medical aid or shelter that's totally integrated and literally as simple as pushing a button, and you're ready to go. That's what we're looking for in a perfect solution. Flexibility for airlift, flexibility for movement, flexibility for totally integrated systems that are independent as well as interdependent. And so just studying the recent disasters and how we would respond to them in a perfect world gives us a blueprint for the future to mitigate these inevitable disasters that will come our way. That's our responsibility as world citizens. How to do that? How to recognize that a life lost in another country is the same as a life lost in your country. Those are all citizens of the world. And we have a responsibility as citizens of the world to help our fellow man. That's what we're talking about today. How can we do that? How can we do that in an affordable fashion? But how can we do that so we have total flexibility, whatever the situation is, that we can respond?